Hello. I read the book Push Out, The Criminalization of Black Girls in Schools by Monique W. Morris. And basically, I'm going to tell you about this book and kind of what I wrote about in my book review paper. But first, I would like to say that this was a very hard book to read because of the circumstances and like discrimination towards black girls in schools. And as a future educator, it really broke my heart because I would never do this. And like, I just don't understand how people could be this way towards other people. But let's get talking about the book. Oh my gosh, I need to sneeze, I think. But the author, she collected like outstanding research of how black girls are treated in schools, and she spent like around 4 years gathering like data, observing schools, and interviewing politicians, administration, teachers, and policymakers to like um, support her evidence and like research put into this book, which is really awesome. She documents the number of black girls that are pushed out of schools and gives young black girls like opportunity to share their experiences in schools, which is really awesome. And like, it's really brave of these girls to like go out and let their voices be heard. And literally, more than half this book is about other girls talking about their experience. And so, like, I thought that was really awesome and like really brave of them to do that because, like, you don't have to do that, but like, it's good that they did because like this needs to stop. Um, and so it also talked about like the young girls that she interviewed, like they shared their involvement in poverty, metal detectors, school searching, and like classroom discipline. So there's like multiple aspects that like result into girls being pushed out of like schools, but the most like like the most one that like does all of this is like their teachers, which amazes me. But teachers have a lot of teachers have like the biggest impact on their students, as like everyone knows. And so some teachers have been setting up black girls for failure, and that's just not okay. But basically, like, black girls are unappreciated in schools by paraprofessionals and teachers, and they are exceedingly judged. Like, they have reputations of having attitudes, being ghetto, what they wear, like, sets off reputations for them, like, being high school dropouts, getting working at McDonald's, like, not being who they want to be, and like, that's not okay. It also shows how like some black girls set aside like all they've been through, but and like also like continue to finish school, which is amazing. But also they finished school, but they also like went through tough times too, and like we need to know those things. Like these girls have like a hard time in school, and so like this book opens up like the harsh subjects of it, and they really need to be resolved. And so also the author explains like how to work with these young girls and to help them succeed because they want to learn and be something just like everyone else. Like, we're all human no matter like what color you are or anything, and like we all deserve a chance to like be the person we want to be, and like do the profession we want. And so basically this book is like divided into 5 chapters, but each chapter also has like short stories and like topics that are part of the big chapter. And so I talked about like my first paragraph was about like the black girls being ghetto and like their appearance and like the reputation like they have in this society. And also I threw in some quotes about like girls and like what they said about it. And then I also talked about like the black girls' attitudes, because society thinks like neck rolling and all of that is them, and like them being disrespectful is like their attitude. But most of them have attitudes because of like the poor teacher student like relationships. So it's important to build relationships with your students and like really understand where they're coming from. The next thing I talk about is prostitution, because a lot of girls are stuck in poverty and they can't get out of it. And so instead of going to school, they like become prostitutes to where they can make money and like find their way out of it. But like it's our jobs to like know, like understand that they're going through a hard time, but like let them know like school is the way to go, and like really be like that person, that positive influence that they need so they don't end up being prostitutes. I also talk about girls in confinement because when they're incarcerated, they also have to like go to school still, but like the classes they take while they're in juvie, they don't transfer over to like their district classes. So it's basically setting up for failure. And like the teachers that are teaching there, they they are really rude and disrespectful to the girls, and so the girls just basically give up. So I talk about that, and then like the last chapter is about like how we can build relationships and connections with the girls, and like all of this will stop. Like not all, it won't completely stop, but like a lot of the percentages about with high school with black girls being incarcerated and high school dropouts will completely like really decrease. And so the thing that like I like the most is like she gave us like a lot of tips and like themes of like what to do and like how we should teach our students, especially like black girls, and like how to keep them involved in schools and like be like really like good leaders to them. And so we should basically promote our engagement in school based like things such as like sports and extracurricular activities and clubs to keep them involved and want to like finish school. I concluded with like with them with explaining that we need to build those relationships with our students and like be their helping hand and like be the person to talk to, and like we need to help them get out of every situation that we can, if that's like being that person for them, that positive influence, or also like offering them resources. I honestly think every educator, everyone, and even future educators really need to read this book. It was a great book to read. It's really heartbreaking, but their voices need to be heard.